Welcome to the British History Podcast wrap-up show. My name is Brandon,
And my name is Benjo.
and this is episode one of our first episode. We're gonna talk about season one and episode two. Episode one was like their trailer.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here on a podcast couch. We both have microphones that aren't attached, but we do have other microphones on. So anyway, Benjo. Um, this is the first substantive episode, right?
Yes.
So this is covering the island of Britain, what we now know as the island of Britain, from 70,000 BCE
Wow.
to 100 BCE. So basically, starting 72,000
And that's
years ago.
all in one episode?
Yes.
Okay.
So this episode is very different because it's literally covering 70,000 years. So it sounds, but there's going to be a lot for us to capture here. Our future wrap up shows, there's going to be more of a storyline, but what they're basing all this history on is archaeological. I mean, this is pre-written history, so there's no written history that supports any of this.
So it's not like this could be fake?
No, it's not that it could be fake, but I mean, we don't understand the entire story. And
there's more to all of this.
Well, right. And you know, even when we do have written records, your written records, which Jamie talks about, is that your written records are written by the winners, or they may not represent every view. It may be just a weird subset of people. But anyway, so we talked about this. We go back 70,000 years ago. 70,000 years ago was the beginning of the last ice age, right?
Yeah.
And so Jamie talks about how an ice age doesn't necessarily mean like a huge drop in temperature.
Yeah.
It could be a generally slight drop in temperature that just slowly eats away at the food chain.
But it's still like cold.
It's colder, but like on any given day, you may not recognize it.
The difference in the temperature.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, they talk about, and this is when I listened to it the first time. I remember the discussion about giant deer and woolly mammoths, and they lived. So they lived, I guess, generally around the time of maybe before, when about 40,000 BCE. We call it BCE, not BC.
Before the Common Era. That's
okay.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I've learned that in history class. Yeah.
So about 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals. Neanderthals. That's what some people say.
Is that like old people?
I know. I think that's just how you're supposed to pronounce it. But anyway, Neanderthals came onto the island, and then 30,000 years ago, humans came onto the island.
Okay, wait. What is a Neanderthal?
Neanderthals are actually, I guess, they are humans.
Okay.
So we are Homo sapiens, which is a type of human. So, and we've done the 23andMe. We've got Neanderthal DNA in us.
So it's just like a different type of human,
a different species of human that lost out, and I mean lost. They didn't necessarily lose out because their DNA still.
So there's no more like fully 100% Neanderthals.
Correct. That we know of. Maybe they're out there somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, humans and Neanderthals, they coexisted. And then we talked about the Ice Age, but the real cold snap started about 22,000 BCE. And that made it tough for people. Like, you think about like the forests of England and Britain,
Yeah.
Like Jamie says, think about it like it was northern Greenland, which Greenland is actually the cold one.
Yeah, it's like
Iceland is
they're switched. Yeah.
Right. But anyway, when it got that cold, the sea level was lower because ice froze.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, Britain was connected to the continent. We're going to use the word continent a lot.
Okay.
That means Europe.
Okay.
Like northwestern Europe, basically. Right. Britain was also connected to Ireland, which is not connected to Britain now, obviously, you know.
It's kind of like drifted apart.
Well, it didn't drift apart.
It's just not like
It was connected, and then the sea levels rose, and the water covered where the lower parts where
So
it
now
was
it's
connected.
okay. I get it now.
Right. So you got there was no Irish Sea, which separates Britain and Ireland, and there was no English Channel,
Yeah.
which separates Britain and the continent. So anyway, then it started to warm up again, and about 14,000 years ago, people started returning. And you know, I was left with a question: when it got real cold in that cold snap 22,000 years ago, did some people stay?
What do you think? I think it's impossible that everybody left. I think some people stayed.
But I mean, could they have survived?
I think. I mean, anything's possible. I think
Anything is
some
possible.
people stay and survive. That's
Well,
just my opinion, though.
That's a question I would ask Jamie. So I go through, I make these notes, and we kind of go back and talk through these notes here. So um, anyway, at some point the Irish Sea did form, but at that point, so the Irish Sea was created before the English Channel, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So England or Britain, when we talk about Britain, Britain is the island we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And on Britain, currently you have England, Wales, Scotland, right? And it's part of the UK, but then we get into a whole complicated mess as to governance. But just so that you know, when we talk about Britain, we're talking about Wales, Scotland, and England.
Yeah.
That island, right? Britain is the island. So anyway, Britain is still connected to the continent when Ireland becomes its own island. And so some of those mammals that had evolved to withstand really cold temperatures, when it started warming back up, they started dying out. And so let me ask you this, Benjo. We're kind of going in chronological order, like the BHP does. But have you ever heard of Cheddar Man?
I've never heard of Cheddar Man.
So Cheddar Man is a skeleton that was found several decades ago in Britain. I'm not sure where.
Okay, I think I might know what you're talking about, but I might be thinking of somebody else. Continue though.
Okay, so Cheddar Man is a really super old skeleton found.
Is it like he froze?
Maybe.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Right. I look this up. This stuff.
I might have learned that in school.
Sometimes on Wikipedia. That's where I go for all my info, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's not perfect.
It's a good website, but
it's a good source.
He finds the age of people on Wikipedia when he can just look it up on Google.
Right. Anyway, so Cheddar Man was found, and this guy lived in England like about 7150 BCE. Okay, so that's like not over almost 9200 years ago. It's a long time ago, right? And recent studies have shown he actually has a very dark complexion, and it kind of changed the way we thought about evolution of skin color and how quickly that changed for Northern Europeans. Anyway, there was all kinds of theories about how he died and his burial and potential cannibalism.
Conspiracy theories.
Well, I don't know if they're conspiracy theories. They sound legit, you know. I mean, they sound like reasonable things based on very limited evidence.
But not all can be true.
Right. They're basing this on the bones and what they can read, you know.
Science,
right. And they also found that recently that Cheddar Man, I say recently, I think it's been a minute, but Cheddar Man is, and this is where I'm not sure, either related to or the ancestor of a guy currently living
in Britain,
right there where they found Cheddar Man, the same village.
That's awesome.
Right. But I'm not sure. So Cheddar Man looks like he was 21 years old when he died. So I don't know, maybe
21.
yeah. So maybe he had a kid. So that's why I'm not sure if he's just genetically related to this guy or a direct ancestor.
What was the average lifespan back then?
Probably really short.
Like
90, 200 years ago.
Like 30.
Maybe 40.
So,
you're old man, I would be super old.
Yeah.
44. 12.
I would be almost there.
Yeah. So anyway, they call it global. We talk about global warming now, but they had global warming then, and that's what was causing the ice age to end. It was just more, I guess, generally naturally created. But the English Channel's created, where they used to call that land where you could literally walk from what is now France to England, the Dogger lands. So anyway, we get to about 4,000 BCE.
Okay.
So 6,000.
So now we're growing a lot of years. We went from 70,000 BCE.
7,000.
7,000. Sorry,
right.
7,000 to 4,000.
That's right.
So we're getting there.
Right. So we're getting there, and people have come back in, and these are like the original Britons. You know, there's a difference. You'll with the Anglo-Saxons and the native Britons, we watched The Last Kingdom. They talk about like the Welsh Kingdom. You learned about.
We recommend it.
Highly recommend.
And then what was the movie? It was like the
Seven Kings Must Die.
Yeah, 7 Kings Must Die.
Yeah, we love Uhtred. But so anyway, 4,000 BCE, there's about 10,000 people that live in Britain.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not that much.
That's not that much. And this was the Neolithic period. That you just need to know that term because it's a classification of basically civilization milestones, right?
So a lot of things happen in this period.
Right. Right.
Well, I mean, a lot of things happen in every period, but
they do, and that's a good way to think about it. Just because it happened a long time ago doesn't mean a lot of things weren't happening, you know. But it's just because it's not written down, you know. So it's the Neolithic period is the final division of the Stone Age in Europe, Asia, and Africa. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't really care about that.
I mean, we care.
I don't.
You don't. All right. So just to make it clear, I listen to the episode. Benjo doesn't, and then I just bring him up to speed on my notes.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun too.
I do too.
I'm already locked in. I'm interested.
You are?
Yeah,
oh, good. I love it. All right, Benjo. So we're going to skip ahead 1,500 years to 2,500 BCE.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
I know, and it's easy to say, well, those 1,500 years, nothing happened with human history, but surely they did.
Yeah.
You know, surely things happened. You know, and one thing, Benjo, I want to talk about is just to kind of get it out there. Is my interest in the British history.
Just not necessarily the podcast, just the history of Britain in general.
And the podcast.
And the podcast too. But just like general British history.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's because it's an island. I mean, obviously we talked about how it wasn't for a minute, but
it's not like huge. I mean,
it's not huge.
It's big, but it's not huge.
It had a huge effect on Western civilization. I mean, the American government and way of life, but I think it's because it's an island. And I listened to some other podcasts, and there's some great. I listen to other podcasts, but I seem to find myself drawn to podcasts about islands. So I'm listening to an Icelandic history podcast. I listen to a Japanese history podcast, and those are islands because, like, I listen to some other ones, and you're just talking about a general region.
Yeah, it's not
borders.
It's not. If it's not an island, it's just. I mean, it's still interesting, but islands are just like it's its own little thing.
It's a defined area.
Yes.
You can't say, well, France or Germany expanded or Russia or whatever. It is a defined area. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
No, I get it.
So, all right. So we're going skipping back to 2,500 BCE. Tell me you've heard of Stonehenge.
Who hasn't heard? If you haven't heard of Stonehenge, you're living under a rock.
Oh,
that was no pun intended. No pun intended there.
Drummer Benjo needs to give a So what? Well, tell me, what do you know about Stonehenge?
They're actually rocks that are like carved kind of into that, like creatures that look like humans, and they're very tall, like very big, very tall. And
well, they don't really look
Easter,
like humans.
Is it Easter Island? It's called Easter.
Yeah, but that's completely different. Easter
okay.
Island is different. But I don't know. It may be from generally the same time frame. Although Easter Island, like it had artwork and stuff that maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it's the ballpark of how.
Yeah.
I think Easter Island had to have been more recent. But anyway, Stonehenge, it's not in the shape of people. It's and so Jamie skips over this.
That's what I took it as.
You did?
Yeah, I don't. That's just what I saw it as.
That's the case.
It's probably not. That's just what I took.
I don't claim to be a Stonehenge expert. But anyway, Jamie talks about how maybe that will be a members only episode. I'm gonna have to go back and look. I think there are several members only episodes dedicated to Stonehenge. That is something that
you've missed an episode.
No. I've not missed an episode. I'm just trying to think back to. I mean, I've listened to all at this point 449 episodes, regular episodes, and then there's like 115 maybe members only episodes. I'd have to go back and look because Stonehenge. Yeah, Jamie's right. He could go off into a tangent and talk about Stonehenge for like 10 episodes, but maybe the members only episodes do cover it. But anyway, there's a lot of not we don't have full understanding of what Stonehenge was, but it like lined up like a sundial, I think. I mean, anyway, never been to Britain. One day I want to go, and
that would be awesome. Britain,
I want to see.
It's got so much history behind it. It's just so interesting.
Yeah, and I'm going to take this guy along.
That would be awesome.
He's going to learn about his brothers.
We should do it if we ever went to Britain. We should do a wrap-up episode in Britain.
Ooh,
that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. That's a great idea. Summer 2025.
Foreshadowing.
But anyway, if I go to Britain, I want to see Stonehenge. I know Jamie's going to think this is like cliche, but I want to see Hastings. I want to see Battle Abbey.
Yeah.
I want to do the London thing. I don't know. I've got a lot that I want to see there. And I've become what team do I like?
Liverpool.
No, they're in Liverpool.
In Liverpool. I can't remember.
Everton.
Everton Football Club.
Everton.
Paul McCartney fan.
Yeah, I just looked up what
Paul McCartney's favorite team
was, and he said Everton. So
How is Everton?
They've been doing good. I think their season's over.
Yeah, I think they were one of the best. I think they were.
Well,
in
they
top
finished
5.
strong. I know that. I watched some of their stuff, and I got an Everton jacket.
Do you know any players?
Not current ones.
Okay.
There's a guy named like Dixie Davis. It's just he was like the best player. I know some current ones, but I can't remember their names. Yeah. But anyway, back to this. But anyway, we're talking about where we want to go.
Got a little off track.
We did.
But I mean, it's fun to talk about.
It was. So we're going to go to Stonehenge.
Yes.
But Jamie doesn't go into Stonehenge a good bit. That's kind of I strongly advise anybody, if you're listening to this, you're probably already a member. I've been a member since I found. I mean, of course, it's like $100 a year, maybe not even that, but it's a good deal. I like the members only episodes and rough transcripts. That's another thing he always says. So anyway, we're skipping ahead another 1,500 years to 1000 BCE. We start talking about hill forts, and Jamie says what it sounds like. Forts built on hills to protect, right? And generally along this entire time, you get more urbanization, where civilizations are coming together for defenses, right? And because before you've got just like pockets of tribes of people, but we talked about different ages. You had the Stone Age. This becomes the Bronze Age. So you know anything about bronze?
It's a color. It's brown.
Color, but it's also a material.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so
Olympic bronze. That's just what I thought of when I heard bronze.
A bronze medal?
Yeah.
Like
that you
Olympic
win.
Bronze medal. I got you. Well, bronze though is the development of bronze is a milestone in a civilization, right? It's because they have figured out how to mine copper and mine tin and put that together as a strong metal substance known as bronze. Okay.
Okay.
I don't claim to be an expert in this. I've looked some of this stuff up too. There's a lot of Wikipediaing. If I can use that as a verb.
Researching.
Can I use Wikipediaing as a verb?
We just made a new word.
We did.
Check it out in the dictionary.
Right. So anyway, it's the Bronze Age begins in Britain, but on the continent, they're actually already in the Iron Age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Iron Age is more advanced than the Copper Age, and I guess iron is mined, and maybe that's its own compound that's mined, and you don't have to combine copper and tin. But it's much stronger.
Okay.
And
is iron and metal, are they same thing?
Iron is a metal.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I was just thinking.
Iron is a metal.
I was just wondering.
It's a metal that's much stronger than bronze. And so the Jamie makes the example. So if you're fighting battles against other people who have iron weapons, and you've got bronze weapons, and they're kicking your butts, you're going to slowly learn how to use iron weapons to defend yourself, right? So the technology we talk about technology,
not necessarily like phones or computers or electricity,
right?
But
because their technology, like technology now is going straight up, like. Their technology along human history was a
flat
slow.
Line.
Well, it wasn't flat.
Not a flat line, but it was just tinily building up.
So that's right.
And now every day it seems like we're getting more advanced in technology.
Absolutely, you're right, dude. It's good that you know that. So anyway, that technology comes over. So we're still in BCE times. We're about 700 BCE when the Iron Age starts slowly coming over. Then and again, we're jumping over huge swaths of time here, which we're not going to be doing
later.
Okay. Yes.
That the other time is important. Not that that's not important, but it's more important than British history.
It's just known, it's just what we know.
Yes. Like the other times that we're jumping off of are like not necessarily documented.
Right. That's right. So anyway, about 400 to 500, we were going backwards, of course, with BCE. 500 to 400 BCE, the Celts arrive, right? The Boston Celtics arrive. I'm just kidding. Not the Celtics comes from that word Celtic. Sounds like that was like a dad joke.
That was a
response.
A little cheesy.
But the Celts, right? They call them the Celtics here, but it's the Celtic culture. And they arrived from what we call Gaul, which was France and Spain generally, right? I may sometimes be using misnomers, but just hang in there with me. So there's some different types of Celts that arrive, and they come over, and I guess they're commingling with the population that still exists. So they're like the real OGs, right?
Yeah.
And the Celts that come over are like second in line OGs, right?
Before second original gangsters.
Right. Before the Anglo-Saxons come, well, Romans.
Yeah.
And then the Anglo-Saxons, right? So at this time in BCE, the island is known as Albion. Albion? And I don't know if that's where, at one point they call it the north of Scotland, Alba, I think. But anyway, Albion was what Britain was known as. And you start getting some written records around this time. Is
this like chronicles? No, not yet.
Not yet. That's good thinking though. This is from a guy named Pythias.
Pythion?
No, Pythias, a Greek guy that came over and mapped out the island. And even now, when you talk about coming over, like
I think I might have heard Pythias before.
You have? Okay. I mean, maybe so.
Maybe I'm thinking of Pythion though.
I don't know, but
no, I'm thinking of Pantheon.
Okay. Anyway, so you talk about this Greek guy that came over. I mean, can you imagine boating, even though it's like 30 miles at its narrowest between France or the continent and England. I mean, 30 miles in a boat in like 2,500 years ago. I mean,
that's
I would
gotta
be
take.
nervous.
Yeah, I mean, because the
But
boats.
but you got to think. I mean, there had to have been. We don't just have all the skilled people now. These are human beings
Yeah.
that would have. I mean, with the same upbringing, would have acted just like us.
Mm-hmm.
No real change. But anyway, this Greek guy came over, Pythias, and mapped out the island. He took like shadows and mapped out the island. And if you look at his map and what we know, there's a huge difference. But based on the technology at the time, he did a heck of a job. It sounds like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is again.
Thank you, Pythias, by the way.
Yeah, we talk about Pythias, and this is when they start. He talks about the development of the word Britannia, what becomes known as the word Britannia, and that basically comes out of a word meaning land of the painted people, right?
So is that like Indians, like
So you can kind of think of them as native Britoners,
like
right?
where they would take like feathers and stuff?
No, I think they had paint. They had
Okay.
like blue war paint,
Like
is what we think of a lot.
hunters, like where they hunt.
Right.
Okay.
But I think this was like warrior paint more.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just what when I heard painted people, I just thought like Native Americans or
right.
Indians or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar. You know, it's very. I think. I mean, I'm sure it looks a lot different too. But anyway, we're getting closer to AD time. So BC is before Common Era. What's AD?
Anno Domini.
Okay. Wow. And what's that mean?
I have no idea. I just know it stands for Anno Domini.
Well, that's good. You know that. So 200 BCE, they start really ramping up. This is like really ramping up trade with the continent. So these cultures are really starting to come together more, right?
Yeah.
And you got probably stuff from like even Asia on the Silk Road or whatever that's getting to here. But Greeks and Romans and those Mediterranean cultures are starting to know about it. And Jamie talks about how, you know, people in Britain knew about them too.
Mm-hmm.
And you have some cross-channel people going here and there. You start seeing coins, a lot of trading. You see coins that probably from the continent, but you know what they were trading from Britain? One thing they knew they were trading: tin, copper, and hunting dogs.
Hunting dogs. Yeah. Okay, that's
yeah. So a couple metals and hunting dogs.
Hunting dogs. Right. Did they survive? I mean,
yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they had to.
Did all of them survive?
Go to cross back.
I mean,
their like, breeds.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm sure they did. But you know, so we talked about more urban areas to provide for defense because a lot of this time you can think about just like tribal warfare and raids going on, right? And the more fortifications you have, the better protected you are, right? So Britain was very agricultural around this time, you know. So there's hunter-gatherers, and then when civilization starts really getting developed, they learn how to plant crops and stuff. You learn about that?
Yes, I've learned about that.
Yeah. So
and then you got tobacco too.
Well, tobacco.
Well, I don't know. I was just.
I don't think. I think tobacco.
That might have been more later on.
World,
yeah, more later on.
The Americas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where we introduced.
Native
Americans introduced the world to tobacco.
If you didn't know, we are Native Americans. You can obviously tell.
We're not. We don't have any. 23andMe showed none.
I was being sarcastic.
Yeah. I thought maybe there was though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
I was hoping for, but just showed we're very.
What do we like? Britain
Northwest.
British?
Yeah, British, Irish.
Well, I'm a little Italian.
Yeah, his mama's got some Southern European, but I had 0.5% Sub-Saharan African.
Oh yeah, so I'm 0.25%.
Maybe it just depends on how the genetic marbles.
Well, isn't it? I get half from my dad.
Not necessarily.
That's
not necessarily.
That's just how I take it.
Generally, I think, but not necessarily. It's what I've come to understand. But I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But anyway, so around this time, we're still at the end of the BCE era. There were about 1 million people that lived on the island. So 4,000 years ago, there's only 10,000 people. It's like
It's a
that's a huge jump,
that's
wouldn't you say?
yeah, it's extraordinary.
Yeah. So he talks about what these people in these civilizations, they started drinking like alcohol. They started
So
creating alcohol to
like
drink.
IPAs.
Well, so I made a note.
Okay.
Jamie said he likes a good hoppy beer. So
Yeah, me too.
you do.
I'm joking.
But I do like IPAs.
Yeah.
You know, what do I buy my IPAs based on? The artwork on the cover.
Oh, you do? I didn't know that.
Because Mama likes the artwork.
Okay.
But anyway,
you don't get them off the taste.
I mean, I do like certain ones.
Do you have a favorite IPA?
I like Tropicalia. Yeah. Creature Comforts out of Athens, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite. Good question. So anyway, he talks about them drinking this ale and mead. Okay. Mead's a big thing.
Well, ale is now around today, isn't it?
Right. That's IPAs are India Pale Ales.
Oh, okay.
And you got different types of pale ales, like California Pale Ales, and
there's
Southern Pale Ales.
So there's CPAs and
SPAs. American Pale Ales. Yeah. And I think I think it was actually from India. They had a big beer. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Yeah.
So the next big one I drew a line under was Druids.
Druids. Okay, that's
and look, we're taking, because such a wide expanse of history was covered here. That's why this one's a little bit longer. But Druids were like Celtic priests, I guess, and somehow related to the Celts, I want to say. And they were like these mystical storytellers and priests, and there was long training. Have you heard the word Druids before? No?
I thought it said David.
I started writing in cursive, something that Benjo can't read. Benjo can't read cursive.
Well, I didn't learn cursive, so I mean that's my teacher's fault. No.
Oh my god!
I mean,
it's crazy.
I have a signature.
I don't know why. I usually when I guess because I did want
you wrote everything in regular, and then you started writing.
I know
cursive,
because I wanted you to
threw me off a little bit.
I know I wanted you to be able to read that, and then that I started I can write much faster in cursive.
Okay.
But anyway,
I don't know how you can write faster in cursive.
Because you don't take your hand off. You don't pick it up.
Well, just write regular without taking your hand off.
No, because you have to. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So the Druids were like these mystical storyteller historians of their cultures, right? And they were essentially, spoiler alert, wiped out when the Romans came.
Oh,
so that like they told oral history. So they didn't write a lot of things down. So you had people like this that could help you remember your culture's history through like oral storytelling, probably songs.
Historians.
Right, but they didn't write anything down, so it all had to be oral.
Yeah. So like passed on through generations.
And they would like find creative ways to make stuff memorable that could be passed on, you know. But anyway, when the Romans came, the Romans they called them basically, I don't know if Jamie kind of makes it out to sound like they were just accusing them of being human sacrificers, which the Romans really looked down on. Human sacrifice, that would be?
Yeah, that was like when you sacrifice yourself so you die.
Or you sacrifice somebody else.
Yeah.
Or you could sacrifice yourself.
But quick fact, I learned this in history this year. Like the Aztecs or something, they would play soccer, and the captain of the losing team would be sacrificed.
Oh man. So
way off topic, but I just
you thought it was
kind of interesting.
You better really win.
Yeah, or just not be the team captain.
Or just not be the team captain. That's right. So anyway, Benjo, I talked a little bit before. I just made a note here at the end. Jamie goes into a long kind of soliloquy. I don't know if that's the right word, about how again what is soliloquy? Just he goes into a long like preaching about.
So like just a long point of time just talking about this.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know. I'm just trying to make it so I understand.
A long diatribe, era. No, he just goes into a long explanation.
I understand. Okay.
A long explanation about now that we've got written sources, you got to understand the veracity of the sources, the truth of the sources, and whether these sources may just happen to reflect a single strange individual's perspective, and society wasn't generally like that. So, anyway, this is going to be hopefully one of the few examples where the wrap-up show is longer than the actual show, just because we did cover so much.
How long is the usual show?
Well, the usual shows last
I thought it was like 45 minutes.
From like 25 to, they've been an hour before.
They have? Okay.
Yeah.
Is the hour one, has that been like 64, like 64 AD? What's it called? The 60?
I can't remember.
No, the one that your favorite period in
1066?
1066, that's what it was.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the actual.
What episode is 1066?
That's where William just died.
No, okay. So you're still in 1066?
No, I'm in 1087, I think is when he died, or 1088.
So it's been a lot of episodes just to jump like 20 years, and we've already jumped thousands of years in one episode.
Right.
So it starts off a little hot, like jump.
It's a big, huge chronological jump. But boom, boom, boom. The Romans are coming. That's it. Till next time.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Benjo.
I'm Brandon. And
this has been the British History Podcast Wrap-Up Show.
Thank you. Don't believe